Good evening, all. Welcome to the Hillsborough Town Board of Commissioners first meeting of 2022. Welcome, whether you are here with us on the screen or tuning in via our town YouTube channel. We are glad that you are here. As you may remember, we did meet together. We had one great in-person meeting right before our last, well, it was our last meeting 2021. And unfortunately, the Omicron wave has us back to virtual, but here we are doing what we need to do. And I will go ahead and open this meeting, and if we could have the roll call. Oh, and I see that Sarah might have kicked herself out. So when Sarah gets back, we'll have the roll call. And while she's getting set up for the roll call, I'll just remind everyone that I won't read the public charge, but it is printed on the agenda.
All right, I lost connection for a second. Do you mind telling me where we are?
Just ready for the roll call for our quorum.
Okay. Apologize for that.
It happens.
Commissioner Bell,
Present.
Commissioner English,
Present.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Here.
Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Lloyd,
Here.
Mayor Weaver.
I am also here. Thank you so much. Do we have any audience comments that are not related to the printed agenda?
No, we do not.
Okay, then moving on to item number 3, agenda changes and approval. Are there any changes to our agenda this evening?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Moved by Kathleen, seconded by Evelyn. And I see that Sarah has, she seems to be having connection problems. So we will give her a moment. And while we're waiting for Sarah, maybe I will ask if this, if she ends up having a significant issue, what is the, Bob, what's the protocol for? There she is back again, sorry.
If it helps, I can just take over calling the roll.
Is that okay? Thank you. I could do it too, but I wasn't sure if that was the right procedure. So that'd be great, Margaret.
Sure.
Thank you.
I might not get everybody in alphabetical order the first time, so please excuse me. Commissioner Bell,
Aye.
Commissioner English,
Aye.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hughes has not joined yet, and Commissioner Lloyd.
Thank you so much. And the agenda has been approved unanimously as presented. And Sarah, it's all good. Just hang in there. I know connection problems are challenging. We'll just make it work.
Thank you.
The internet and here in middle Orange County. The next item on our agenda is item 4. We have a couple of presentations, and the first one is always a great annual event, which is our Employee Service Milestone Awards. And we have a long list and significant achievements this year in service to the town of Hillsborough. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Eric.
Thanks, Mayor Weaver. As we said, the best gift we can give to our employees is not making them come to a board meeting for their milestone awards this year. Just as a reminder for everybody, we worked for a long time and we're trying to think like, what is it can we do to recognize employees that have been around for a while. So for many years, we just said, instead of doing something bad, let's just wait. And I think we've come up with something that's worked pretty well over the years. So every time an employee reaches a 5-year milestone, we do 2 things for them. We add an extra $75 to their paycheck so they can go do dinner or whatever they want with the funds. And then we also, we'll see how this works out, they get one of these challenge coins for every 5 years, and I'm due for my 5th one next year, and you get the case. So it's just a nice recognition and to recognize some of our great folks who've been around for a while. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can successfully share my screen. Let's see if this works. Oh, that is not working.
So Eric, my question is, you have all those challenge points for yourself. Are those retroactive?
Uh,
He'll be at 25 years. Right?
What we've been doing, I'm sorry, let me just do one thing at a time here.
Oh, no. I'm sorry about that.
Why is this not working? I've got my screen up in front of me.
We see it, Eric.
Oh, you can see the milestone
we-
screen?
Yes, we can
Yeah,
see
we
the
can see it.
2021 service milestones.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Let's see. All right, so awesome. So I'm going to just say a quick little piece about everybody that we've got here. And starting off for our 5-year class is Sergeant Will Feltz. And Will leads one of our 4 patrol rotations as a sergeant. So he's one of the key folks that we've got out there in the field. And in addition to doing a great job, one of the things that Will does is he leads our governor's highway safety program initiatives with the Hillsborough Police and other agencies and nonprofit groups. So thanks to Will. And for those of you who have been out to the wastewater treatment plant before, there are dozens and dozens of pumps, motors, blowers, and if I'm recalling correctly, when we did the upgrade to the plant a few years ago, there's something like several thousand miles of wire and like hundreds of miles of piping out there. So David Labby is the mechanic who is in charge of all of that, and it's really mind-blowing everything that he and the rest of the staff have to work on, but David's our primary person out there. So he's got to be able to work on all the equipment, understand electronics and hydraulics. And Jeff Mahagan, the superintendent, said that David has also become quite the proficient project manager and in handling project management and documentation. So I just am amazed at what David can do and the rest of the team that helps him. So thanks to David for all he does. Also, this is our night for patrol sergeants. Nicole Centaur is one of our patrol sergeants, and she's done an outstanding job. And Chief Hampton refers to her as the head of our honorary equine unit, because if you remember in the holiday parade a couple of years ago, she was in the parade with a horse, which was just added a lot of fun to the parade. So thanks to Sergeant Center. And once again, talking about key people who are out in the field that make a difference. It always seems like it's cold, raining, bad weather, bad timing when there's line issues in the field with water, sewer. And Zim Torain is one of the folks that we rely on, who does a great job no matter what the situation is. He can handle it out in the field. So thanks to Zim for all his skill. Also from the police department is Chad Wilson, Corporal Wilson. And Chad has the most recognizable of all the Hillsborough patrol vehicles. It is the special graphics package on the Explorer that's red, white, and blue, where Chad took the initiative and partnered with Mothers Against Drunk Driving and did the special graphics package on that, and has worked with other programs with MAD. And as a quick aside, I think almost every year during the POPAT, the police officer physical agility test, it's either Chad or Lieutenant Wynn who are the top times, and those are 2 brutal exercises they have to go through. So he always stays in great shape. All right. So our 10-year class, starting off with the third of our 4 sergeants who lead our rotations, and Sergeant Chestnut has been with us for 10 years. He also brings in a background in investigations where he worked did a good stint there. Gives him a lot of a diverse background. And he leads our alert program, which is the alcohol enforcement efforts, which we work with other agencies and nonprofit groups on that. So he does a lot of excellent work in coordinating those activities for us. Our meter supervisor is Tyrone Hodge. And a few years ago, when we had our Hillsborough University Leadership Academy, Tyrone was in there, And Lieutenant Simmons from the police department said one day, he pointed and said, "Tyrone, you are the hardest working person in all of Hillsborough. I see you running often, and sometimes we've had staffing shortages. And Tyrone is a high-level athlete and incredibly dedicated, and he has worked through some difficult times that I don't know if any or very few people could get through what he has done, just carrying things on his back." So a quick little side note, if you don't know Tyrone, he was a 3-time state champion in wrestling at Orange High School and also an All-American. So he's put together his leadership as well as physical skills to the town of Hillsborough and has just done an amazing job for us. Our Public Works crew leader and equipment operator 3 is Brian Tatum. So the equipment operator 3 is a really important part. We've all seen a lot of the equipment in Public Works. Brian cannot just operate it, he can operate it really well. So he's got a high level expertise with equipment, and as a crew leader, he's one of the key supervisors in Public Works. He can step in and lead the department when Dustin's not available, and has just done a fantastic job and can handle about anything that pops up unexpectedly in the field. One of our financial services and customer service reps is Veronica Wright. She spent 10 years with us. I tell people regularly, I have worked for 5 municipalities, and on a day-to-day basis, the most challenging and difficult job is for the employees that work in the billing office. They just deal with tough issues on a regular basis. Veronica is always poised, professional. She knows what she's doing, does a great job. And as a side note, I've been really lucky to work with Veronica on several different HR situations, whether it's hiring practices. And I've told her she needs to have a second career working in human resources because she just has a knack for asking the right questions, being very insightful. And so Veronica's really brings a lot of skills to the job. So thanks, Veronica. All right, moving on to our 15-year class. Our Public Works manager, Dustin Hill. So Dustin is the #1 person running our Public Works operation, and he took over as the interim when Ken Hines retired a little over a year ago, and taking over running a department in the middle of a pandemic. When you're regularly losing people, it sort of threw Dustin in the deep end of the pool, but he responded and has just done a fantastic job. There's been some days that they've only had a handful of people, like meaning 2, and they figured out how to keep things running, almost for the past 2 years here. And Dustin can do every single job in Public Works with his own hands. He's done it, and the 15 years of experience is proof. As we all heard, we don't have like 8 or 9 people in Public Works, and it is astonishing what they get done. So not only does Dustin get a lot of credit, he really relies on his staff, and they work together, and he gets suggestions and implements them, and he's got a lot of support from his people. So just a tip of the cap to Dustin, thanks to him and his team. Everybody knows Sarah, our town clerk, and oh, by the way, she's also our human resources tech. So she's got a background in HR and is accepted to taking on full-time town clerk duties as well. I want to say that Sarah is probably one of our most well-rounded and most experienced employees. So she worked in billing and collections and was an expert there. She moved over to the accounting side of the house, did accounting, payroll, still helps out and backs up when we've had challenges, and then has walked over to the HR and the town clerk side and is now a certified clerk in the state of North Carolina, and is just always really flexible and does a great job. So thank you, Sarah. Jeff Mahagan, we've all heard it. There's 10, 15,000 wastewater plants in the United States. And on many days, the town of Hillsborough's plant has the lowest nitrogen and phosphorus discharge in the United States. Jeff and his team have been able to get the plant to run beyond the engineered design capacity by doing experiments and making it run incredibly efficient, which extends the capacity of our plant. saves us money. Jeff's been nationally recognized, been guest speaker at national conferences, and has the unique distinction of he was the Colorado wastewater treatment plant operator of the year before he came to North Carolina, and has been the North Carolina wastewater treatment operator of the year. So Jeff's extremely talented and dedicated, and we really couldn't ask for a better person to be running one of the most important assets for our community and to protect the environment than Jeff. So thanks, Jeff. And Scott Smith, Utility Mechanic 3 is the highest level of technical expertise that you can go to when it comes to our water and distribution crews. And there is not an issue that Scott Smith can't handle. I talked earlier about the extremely difficult conditions that our crews have to go out in while the rest of us are at home enjoying doing whatever. They go out at the worst and most inopportune times and stop problems, help people that are very complex on what they have to do. And on top of all of that, Scott is a high-level welder. He's creative. He's saved us a lot of money. There's pretty much nothing that he can't fix or do with welding. So like a lot of our folks, they're multi-talented. So thank you, Scott. Lieutenant Tremor, I was thinking, it's like, I think Lieutenant Tremor has not just been the commander over every police division, which is like administration, investigations, often including community policing and patrol, but I think he may have led every division at least 2 times and has served as our acting chief before and is a certified instructor. So once again, wears many hats and does a great job. Thanks, Lieutenant Tremor. All right, everybody knows Stephanie. We're talking about people that are versatile. In 15 years, Stephanie has basically run our Historic District Commission, has become our project manager, whether it's buildings, sidewalks, doing road constructions, retrofits. She can handle and manage it all. It is rare when projects come in at or under budget, but I think Stephanie has maybe brought all of her major projects in under budget, which is remarkable. She's running our sustainability and public space division, and that is growing. We're providing more assets to her. She assists with transportation and planning, public works, and stormwater. So she is incredibly well-rounded, and you just can't find anybody who's more dedicated to Hillsborough. So thank you, Stephanie. Catherine Wright. Catherine's been with us for 15 years and actually started teaching our writing class at Hillsborough University before that time. And I regularly hear that for not just a small town, but a larger town, that our communications efforts in Hillsborough are better than what almost everybody does. And so Catherine was a public information department of 1. Now she's leading the communications division. It's got 3 people, but coordinates with all sorts of folks. We always say our communication staff, they are our firefighters, because whatever issue is happening in town, whether it's something weather-wise or an event in town or somebody's concerned about something, every single time our communication staff is brought in to help. So they work exceptionally hard. So thanks to Catherine and the great team that she has built. No 20-year class this year, but we have a 25-year class. And I want to say that Brian Bailey, so that means Bryant is in a class of his own. Again, very well versed. Brian worked quite a few years as a meter reader. He knows where every single meter location is in town. And he moved over to the wastewater collection side. And that's where he specializes in line inspections, repairs, finding problems, being proactive. And I also like to call Brian our informal public information officer for the town, because he knows everyone in Hillsborough and has just been a tremendous asset, not just with his ability to help out in the field, but to help other departments in a wide variety of issues. So thanks for 25 great years, Brian. All right, getting down to our 30-year class. This does not happen very often. So our assistant manager and community services director, Margaret Houth. So Margaret oversees public works, stormwater, planning and economic development, public space, sustainability, and everything else in so many towns And Hillsborough is no different. If you're not sure where something's going, it goes into the planning department. Well, of course, Margaret's purview has expanded over the years. And she, especially during the pandemic, got us the $600,000 grant for the CDBG CV funds, has taken on all sorts of issues that have made a huge impact in the community. And those are things that definitely did not fall in her job description. She's helping with emergency management duties. And I have never met anybody whose memory and recall is as impressive as Margaret. So, and she does a fantastic job serving as the manager when I'm not available and have 100% confidence at all times. So Margaret, thanks for 30 awesome years to the community. And Commissioner Lloyd. So I may be wrong. Commissioner Lloyd can correct me when I finish this, but I think she has the longest tenure of anybody in the history of Hillsborough for serving on the town board. And if I'm wrong about that, the only person who may have surpassed her was her dad, Alan Lloyd. So an amazing amount of service from the Lloyd family. I know Alan Lloyd was really the historian of Hillsborough and wrote the book. One of my most cherished possessions is when I first came to Hillsborough, Evelyn gave me one of the last copies of her dad's book, all about the history of Hillsborough. And internally, if there is a question, Commissioner Lloyd is the person that we go to that we're not sure and say, you need to talk to Commissioner Lloyd. She will remember that or can point you in the right direction. So thank you, Commissioner Lloyd, for all your support, all the citizens and all the boards that you have helped mentor over the years. So anyway, I went through that as fast as I could. I'm sure that I didn't do folks justice, but I know we had a lot of folks. And so thank you, Mayor Weaver.
Thank you so much, Eric. And, you know, I know that every member of the Board of Commissioners could say additional things to all that was just said by Eric about all of those employees. And so just thank you so much to all the dedicated service that everyone has done from 5 to 30 years. It's really incredible. And especially over these last couple of years, which have just been rife with new and unanticipated challenges. So thank you. And thank you, Eric, for that really great presentation. Congratulations, everyone. And Evelyn and Margaret, you know, record holders here. Thank you. Thank you both. That's just tremendous, tremendous service. Moving on to item number, actually, before we go on, if we could just do one while we're on the screen together. I know if we were in the room together, we would be giving a standing ovation right now. So if we could just give a virtual clap to everybody. My volume is on. I apologize for my weird clapping sounds. Moving on to item number 4B, our next presentation is a proclamation declaring January as National Mentoring Month. And we have a handful of guests that will be joining us. So I will wait a moment while they come into the room. And I see everyone is now in the room. And so I just want to say welcome to Atreus Good, President and CEO of Mentor North Carolina. Oh, I'm sorry, Samuel Bellamy, the CEO. Do I have that right? I got everyone's titles right. And then we also have welcoming from Beyond Expectations, one of our homegrown groups, Charlene and Jeff Campbell. Hi, y'all, welcome. And also we have Victor Glover, Executive Director for Fathers on the Move. Thank you all for all the work that you all do in our community. And also want to say thank you to Kathleen for really bringing this proclamation as a tradition for the town board. So thank you for bringing that. And now I will read it. A proclamation declaring National Mentoring Month this January of 2022. Whereas January 2022 will mark the 20th anniversary of National Mentoring Month, an annual campaign to focus attention on the need for mentors, as well as how each of us can work together to increase the number of mentors to help ensure positive outcomes for our young people. And whereas the town of Hillsborough honors volunteer mentors who support young people by showing up for them every day and demonstrating their commitment to helping them thrive. And whereas mentoring programs like Beyond Expectations, Fathers on the Move, and Mentor North Carolina make our communities and our state stronger by driving impactful relationships that increase social capital for young people and provide invaluable support networks. And whereas during the COVID-19 pandemic, mentoring programs have stepped up to fill gaps for young people and families, connecting them with resources and ensuring that mentoring relationships continue virtually to ensure that physical distancing does not mean social disconnection. And whereas mentoring plays a pivotal role in career exploration and supports workplace skills by helping young people set career goals, equipping mentors with the skills needed to support the professional growth of young people, and drives positive outcomes for young people and businesses. And whereas quality mentoring promotes healthy relationships and communication, positive self-esteem, emotional well-being, and growth of a young person and their relationships with other adults. And whereas students who meet regularly with their mentors are more than 52% less likely than their peers to skip a day of school, and youth who face an opportunity gap but have a mentor are 55% more likely to be enrolled in college than those who did not have a mentor. And whereas youth who meet regularly with their mentors are 46% less likely than their peers to start using drugs and 27% less likely to start drinking. And whereas almost half of today's young adults report having a mentor in their youth, and those rates appear to have been rising steadily over the past several decades. And whereas National Mentoring Month is the time of year to celebrate, elevate, and encourage mentoring across our state and recruit caring adult members in the town of Hillsborough. Now, therefore, I, Jen Weaver, Mayor of the town of Hillsborough, do hereby proclaim January 2022 as National Mentoring Month in the town of Hillsborough. More applause. Thank you all so much for being here. And I see that Kathleen would like to say a couple words.
Yes, so first of all, thank you. But I also want to share with those who are listening that Mentor NC, because what the group that was not mentioned is My Brother and Sister's Keeper. And that organization is alive and well and part of Mentor NC. So I just want to let those who are listening out there is we have not left out or forgotten this important organization.
Thank you
And
so much.
thank
Kathleen.
you all for what you do. And I'm honored to support y'all.
Thank you. And I also want to invite our guests this evening that if any of you would like to say a few quick words, you're welcome to. That's something we would do if we were in the room together. No pressure, but I just wanted to open up the space if you wanted to. All right, I'm not.
Okay, I know all of y'all can talk.
All right.
Well, I
Go
can.
ahead.
I'll speak briefly, and hopefully we can hear from Charlene and Victor. But just want to thank you all so much for taking the time to recognize National Mentoring Month. And as mentioned, social distancing does not have to equal emotional disconnection, and we've needed each other to get through these challenging times. And as we know, National Mentoring Month is our annual time to make sure that we're connecting the folks that want to engage in positive youth adult relationships. And we know that 1 in 3 young people do not have access to a mentor to help them navigate. And what we've seen during COVID-19 is you have so many young people that are navigating these challenging situations, and they're experiencing complex trauma. And I say in particular, we want to look at the racial implication, Black and brown youth, and they're navigating this without the relationships or that adult network that helps them move forward. And so mentoring in and of itself is not the answer, but it certainly can be used to leverage the power to move people forward and create those pathways so everybody can live the best lives possible. And so organizations like Beyond Expectations and Fathers on the Move really help to carry that torch. And so certainly want to thank them for that work they're doing on the ground.
Here, here.
I'll go ahead and speak briefly. I'm Charlene Campbell, and this is Jeff. We really appreciate you guys acknowledging us, number one, and it's really, truly appreciated to know that you have our backs and that you're with us along the way. What we do, we love what we do, and we hope to continue to do it. It's been since 2009, I think, and we're seeing the results full circle. Our students are graduating college, some are in grad school. They let us know that they have jobs and they want to start their own businesses. So it's good for the community, what we do. So if we can start as young as we can at 6th grade and follow them through to adulthood, that's all that we can ask for, and just be there to help them. So with your support, I do truly appreciate all that you do, and we hope to continue to work with Hillsborough. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. And it's awesome to even work with our partners as we move the ball together. We're better together. And so when you see the different agencies working together as a team, you know, we can get more accomplished in Orange County. And I just want to say to all you all commissioners, thank you for just, you know, supporting the mentoring movement, because truly our youth is our most precious commodity, our jewels. And so we're on a mission, you know, to reach our kids and empower them, you know, and just see them through the process of knowing who they are and know that they have a purpose. And so truly we're excited about 2022, you know, reaching our youth here in Orange County. And we're excited to say we're going to do a greenhouse with one of the schools here in Orange County. So we're just kind of going to be a little quiet. Y'all will see it real soon, but we're excited about this greenhouse and just showing our youth about what it is to plant in their own vegetables and stuff like that. And we're going to give back to the community. So thank y'all so much. Thank y'all from Fathers on the Move.
Please let us know when that greenhouse is ready to be debuted.
Yes, sure will.
Thank you all again so much for coming to be with us tonight. It is much appreciated. And happy National Mentoring Month.
Yes.
And next we have item number 5. We have appointments, and we have one appointment to consider for the Tourism Development Authority, which is a reappointment of Kim Tesoro for a term ending January 31st, 2023. What's the pleasure of this board?
I'll move adoption of the recommendation from the Tourism Board for the reappointment of Kim Tesoro to be their representative on the TDA.
We have a motion
Second.
moved by Commissioner Hughes, seconded by Rob English. Is there any discussion?
I have a couple
Yes.
of questions.
Sure.
Just to refresh my memory, Margaret, I think we passed a resolution along with the enabling, or in time with the enabling legislation to establish the TDA. And is it the town board in that resolution that defines the makeup of the TDA, in addition to the 3 requirements in the enabling legislation, that 1/3 of the businesses have to, or the members have to collect the occupancy tax. 1/2 of the TDA must be of residents who promote travel and tourism, and that the town CFO is the ex officio finance officer for the TDA. Does the town board set the other requirements in that enabling resolution?
Mark, I'm sorry, I am not that familiar, and I wasn't aware that you had questions about this, so I did not do any research about this, and Shannon's not on the call. So I'm sorry. It's been way too long since we established the TDA, and I'm just not familiar with the requirements. Bob might be able to answer, but I can't off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
I wish I could tell you that I had brushed up on the requirements before the meeting today, but I really did not. So
You went
Bob,
on mute.
You muted yourself halfway through your
Yeah.
sentence.
I'm back. I mean, I do know that that the town code describes and defines the qualifications for the TDA members, but you know, and that was partially due to the sessions law told us what it had to be, but I don't recall off the top what these specifications are.
Okay, thank you.
Mark, is that something that Margaret or Bob could get you information on?
I will circle back around that when we get to hot topics later in the agenda.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, if Sarah, if you could roll call the vote, please. Your square moved. I was trying to find where your face was.
Commissioner Bell,
Yes.
Commissioner English,
Aye.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hughes,
Aye.
Commissioner Lloyd,
Uh,
And that reappointment is approved unanimously. Next, we have item number 6, our consent agenda. What's the pleasure of this board?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Moved by Kathleen, seconded by Mark. And we can roll call the vote.
Commissioner Bell,
Aye.
Commissioner English,
Aye.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hughes,
Aye.
Commissioner Lloyd,
uh,
And the consent agenda is approved unanimously. Moving on to our items for decision, our regular agenda. Our first item is number 7A, which is a budget amendment to allow the mayor to attend the 2022 Regional Leadership Tour. And this is for the registration and travel fees. This is, being put on by I'm multitasking. Let me get to the item here. So we're all looking at the same thing. So let me just move through to the item. But it's being sponsored by the Triangle Regional Authority, and it's designed for elected officials and members of the business community to have an opportunity to see some on-the-ground action in other communities for how they have managed to manifest some of their planning and transportation aspirations, many of which we are working towards here through our MPO and locally as well.
I'll move for adoption of a budget amendment in the amount of $2,095 from governing board miscellaneous budget to training budget.
Moved by Matt, seconded by Mark, and Kathleen, you have some commentary. I'm
Well,
sorry,
no,
I didn't mean it to phrase it that way. I'm not sure if you had a
just have
question
some
or comment.
I do have
Yes.
some questions because of the Triangle J, the nonprofit arm of Triangle J, as well as Triangle J itself, and the Economic Development Authority that's under Triangle J, all have been deeply involved with the bike plan, the regional bike plan, transportation demand, and other such things. So my question is, I hadn't heard this being discussed through Triangle J. Do we have Triangle J representation? Are you aware?
I actually don't know. There is a list of participants that I can easily, that's a public link that I can send to you, and you can take a look. I haven't looked at it for probably a week or so, so I'm just not certain.
That would be great, because I want to make sure that the folks at Triangle J have the opportunity to participate given what we're up to. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make a note to send you that after our meeting. Any further questions or discussion?
Jenna, I believe I saw John Hodges Koppel on the
Oh.
list as attending that.
Great.
Certainly it was offered to members of the COG. It was offered to members of both MPOs, Metropolitan Planning Organizations, the capital area and the Durham area. And
Yeah.
it appears that most of the attendees are from the Wake County side. But if I remember correctly, Jen, I looked through the list of who was going to kind of gauge whether or not town needed to send staff, and I think John Hodges Koppel is going. I
Yeah,
could be
he's-
wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's retiring in a couple months, so I will reach out to the COG and follow up, but I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm glad at least I know that someone's aware of it.
Thank you, Kathleen, and thanks, Margaret. Hearing no further discussion, we can roll call the vote.
Commissioner Bell,
Aye.
Commissioner English,
Aye.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hughes,
Aye.
Commissioner Lloyd,
And that budget amendment is approved unanimously. Thank you all for approving this opportunity to send me there. And also just thank you town staff for it took a lot of hands to make, to get this on the agenda. So I appreciate the quick moving. Thanks, everyone. Next, we have item number 7B, our monthly item, standing item we've had for several months to discuss returning to in-person meetings. And I think we can keep this brief. I actually have a suggestion, just wondering how you all feel, that based on the last discussion that we had in December, before Omicron made it clear that we did need to come back virtual. But when we had decided to come back, we thought we were going to come back in person for this meeting. My sense of our group is that when the conditions are reasonable as possible to be safe, that we're going to be ready to come back in person. And I think that we can probably have that discussion. We don't have to have that this formal setup in a meeting every month. We don't need to take up time doing that. But if anyone feels strongly they want to keep it there, that's completely fine. But I'm proposing that we don't keep this as a standing item on our agenda.
I would say, Mayor Weaver, if we just do maybe a conversation between the mayor and the mayor pro tem and staff, and we can make a decision that way. And of course, we know how we can informally connect with our colleagues. That would probably be fine.
Totally agree. Folks feel comfortable with that? Any other comments or discussion questions people have?
I would just, my thing is just is taking the lead from health authorities in our hospitals.
Yeah, absolutely. When I say when things are reasonably safe, I wouldn't base that on what we thought, other than our best judgment based on what the people we rely on are telling us. So point well taken, but I think that's the page we would all be on. Okay. Then moving on to item 7C, there's a small chance, I just want to say, Kathleen might make kickoff for her national championship
I
game.
know.
We'll see. So item 7C, hot topics for our work session in a couple of weeks. I know the town manager has something that he would like to bring up. So why don't you go ahead, Eric?
Thank you, Mayor Weaver. So in addition to updates possibly on the countywide racial equity plan and the countywide COVID recovery plan, want to add an item, if it's okay with the board, to discuss market rate compensation challenges for sworn police officers and then other employees, working with staff to get some information and to get that, so you'll have additional information before the meeting. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Eric, and thanks for the emailed information you sent out to us with background on that. It feels like something pretty important we need to talk about as soon as we can. Any other hot topic items? Mark?
Yeah, just to close the loop on the comment I made earlier, I had mentioned maybe a couple of months ago that I wanted to put on the radar for the board, kind of a holistic assessment of all of our advisory boards, how we appoint people, opportunities for improvement, and those kinds of things. And I've started the process over the Christmas break by kind of doing my own inventory of all the advisory boards and the enabling legislation for the two boards that have enabling legislation that I'm aware of. And so I'm making a lot of progress on that. So maybe in the February or March timeframe, we might loop back around and have additional conversation about that. And in the meantime, I probably do have a couple of miscellaneous questions, not a whole lot of staff time, maybe an hour or two at most, asking staff to help me find the resolutions that the town board passed that established some of these advisory boards.
So Mark, just to get a little clarity, can you say what I want to be sure that your expectations and staff's workload and abilities are in a match for, because I heard a couple of, I just want to be sure that what your ask is.
My ask is for an hour or two of staff time over the next 2 months to help me locate what should be public documents where the town board passed a resolution to establish, the Water Sewer Advisory Board, for example, or the Tourism Board, or the TDA, or the Historic District Commission. Some of these are really old documents, and they may not exist. I mean, the HDC was established in a long decades ago. So wherever possible, just to help me research where these documents are, so I can incorporate that into my my understanding of the advisory boards, and then to, at some point in the near future, in the next couple of months, to have either I'd be happy to present my findings, or maybe the staff would like to take that and participate in a presentation so that the town board has an up-to-date understanding of all of our advisory boards, their appointment processes, and maybe we can identify some opportunities for improvement around our advisory board, such as training. I think we've all probably had some feedback from citizens over the years about advisory boards. And so just to make sure that we're up to date in our understanding of how they came about, are we following the resolutions that created them? Do we need to update the resolutions, or maybe some of these boards have a charter or bylaws or a mission statement? What I found so far is that it's a little bit all over the map in terms of who's supposed to be on these boards and the process we go through to appoint people to these boards. And some do actually, I was able to find some documents that describe these boards, and others I drew a blank. I couldn't find anything that described them.
Thank you, Mark. That's helpful. I appreciate that. I have one idea, but I see that Matt and Margaret both have their hands up. So maybe my point will be moot.
Well, and I would just say that actually my recommendation that we have a permanent representative from this board, at least during a biennium, represent us on the Water and Sewer Advisory Committee, comes back to actually what our resolution said, which is that we would have a representative, not a person who attended the meetings, but an active participant in our Water Sewer Advisory Committee. And I don't know where I found it, Mark, to your point, but I went back and I just looked, when did we adopt this? What did it say? What was our intention? And our intention, of course, most of us weren't serving when that committee was created, but that was the root of my recommendation, that we have someone who's basically the standing representative from our body to that body, for that very reason. Is it was more in tune with what I think was probably intended. And then also it has a lot of continuity as well, regarding what's discussed and bringing information back. And that was actually going to be my feedback or my report, was just how well received that was just last week in that regard. So thank you, Commissioner Bell.
Thank you, Matt. Margaret.
I was just going to offer to work with Commissioner Bell as when he gets his items together, if he wants to, just kind of let me know where he's at. As the person that's probably easiest for me to lay my hands on whatever there might be in the records. Admittedly, there's probably some records that aren't there, but I'm more than happy to work with him to try and get the most complete picture and figure out the best way to present it to the board on his schedule.
And I'm happy to assist as well with any research.
That's great. Therefore, my suggestion is rendered moot. So thank you, Margaret and Sarah. Does that sound like a good starting place, Mark, to get a list together and send it?
It does. Thank you.
Awesome.
Mayor Weaver.
Yes.
I have a question because part of this, several years ago, the county and some of the municipalities reevaluated and looked at what boards were, in addition to what was in place, but what would fulfill where mission and strategic focus. And I would like that to be part of this conversation, probably not in the same night, certainly, but I think that needs to be a broader conversation of not only what boards do we have and where are we, but where should we be and what should we have and what is it that we want, and some consistency in onboarding and training and support. Because right now, as Commissioner Bell noted, training is spotty, onboarding is haphazard. And I think that we can't, the investment that we put into support, preparation, planning, and infrastructure will pay off in better functioning boards.
Thank you, Kathleen. And my suggestion would be that I think that there's a sentiment here that folks really want to explore, and that we start with this kind of basic step that Mark has suggested there, and then maybe we can have some conversations, and this could be an item for our, like, for example, for our budget retreat, something that we're talking about there. I don't know, it has to be that, but
agreed. This would be the first conversation is what Mark is, but I don't want us to lose sight or have this some months on end that this isn't. I am proposing that this is a designed follow-up to once we know what we have, and to have some of those conversations. We keep in mind of the onboarding, of the training, of who, the appointment processes and all of that, but also the follow-on is, do our current board structures and our boards reflect our priorities and where we're going? So that would be the natural follow-on, and that we plan for that follow-on as opposed to we focus just on the front end and get around to the back end. I hope that made it clearer.
Yes, and I did. That is what I was pulling from you. I think I'm just trying to be mindful of the things that staff is already carrying. And so if we're adding a new thing, then, I think we just have to be mindful of the time and bandwidth that people have right now. So that's what I was just trying to say, of thinking about what the appropriate time and place to put that in would be. Mark.
Yeah, I just want to thank Kathleen for her comments. I think those are very lean thinking, and making sure that the work that our boards do align with what the mission and purpose of the town board wants, and that I can foresee recommended changes and specific actions that come out of a review and consensus among the board about what to do with those committees, such as training and onboarding and those kinds of things. So thank you. I like the way you think.
Yeah, lean's kind of near and dear to my heart too.
All right, thank you, Mark, and thanks for your comments, Kathleen and Matt as well. Any other hot topic issues, items? Okay, then we can move on to item number 8, updates. Updates from board members is where we'll begin. And Kathleen, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, well, Fairview is meeting tonight, which virtually, I'm sorry I'm missing that meeting, but I wanted to let folks know that Ginny Halsey of TJ Cog was identified and nominated, and she was named, there's the word, one of the top 100 influencers in local government across the country. That is a big deal. And it's just reflective, certainly of Jenny, but also of the COG. And the COG is also having Equity Centered Design Thinking webinar that is coming up. Y'all may have seen that. Certainly recommend it. There were a couple COG projects that were accepted as part of the Build Back Better. I'm getting that anyhow, the federal funds. And as I mentioned, the COG is involved through the EDA and through the nonprofit arm on supporting the regional bike plan. Right now, we're really looking at how can we support fund acquisition and planning, and how do we make this a reality with the overall partners. And we will be doing a strategic planning session for the COG first part of February. That's all I got right now. Everything else will kick in. We've got a project review committee that's already starting up for partnership to end homelessness, for the funding coming around, and the home collaborative. We have started that process also on ARP and home funds.
Great. Thank you, Kathleen, for that update. And I just wanted to tell you, I quickly just looked at that, pulled up that link, and Lee Worsley is also going on that trip.
Thank you. Hallelujah.
Absolutely. Rob.
I really don't have anything to update on. Most, if not all, of my committee assignments have not met, and I look forward to getting back to those meeting this month and moving forward. One quick one: Orange County Climate Council. Again, we are looking at in ways that we can be more effective as the group. The county commissioners decided a couple months ago to put together a little subcommittee to kind of talk about that. There's been a proposal to include some of the elected officials as part of an executive committee to kind of move forward with that and have some more input from the elected officials in the makeup of that. So there's been a proposal potentially to create an executive committee to move forward to create an MOU and to adopt these bylaws and to better structure that group. But other than that, that's all I have to report on tonight. Any questions? Let me know.
Thank you, Rob. And Mark.
Haven't had any meetings since we met last, but I do have like 3 coming up this week. So my next report will be pretty busy.
Mark, are you on the Food Council?
Yes.
There is a USDA Food and Agricultural Service Learning grant that was notified by COG. I don't know if it's applicable to any of the Food Council members, but I wanted to at least alert you in case any of the members would qualify.
Okay, thank you. If you can shoot me an email with just some high level, a link to it or something, I'll pass that to the members.
Sure thing. I don't know the details myself, but I will certainly send what I have over.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Evelyn.
We won't meet until this a week from tonight, a week from tomorrow night. We didn't have a meeting in December.
All right. Well, we will hear from you next time. Matt.
No big updates with the holiday. It appears that we will have our next swag meeting on January 31st at 6 p.m. According to the email I have, actually exactly a month from now. I had to take a slight bio break, but I would say in terms of hot topics, whether it's the next meeting in February for the workshop or the one in March, I would like for us to at least start, I'm sure staff's already working on this, on the social districts. I know Salisbury and Kannapolis are both in various levels of development for their social districts. They're smaller. And for those who may not know, the legislature loosened some of the liquor laws in North Carolina. And I know some businesses have approached me about what a social district would look like in Hillsborough. And so I think it would be good for us to begin that conversation sooner rather than later, especially as we get into the spring and summer and fall months. So that's just something, and I know we need to bring the chief into that, and also the partnership for, we have a lot of partnerships. The one
Drug
that
and alcohol free use of Orange
oversees-
County, that one.
Yes, that one, and other stakeholders in that conversation. But that's something I would like us to at least begin rolling the ball on to see if we want to do it. How do we do it? What sort of work group works on that? So those are my only comments.
Greensboro did pass recently. I think they were the first to, it was either Winston or Greensboro. But I have a question for you on swag, because I know there's a regional waste consortium. Do we have representatives from swag on that regional consortium?
I'm not sure, and Commissioner English can back me up on this. We've been meeting fairly infrequently with COVID, so I'm not immediately aware of what that regional body would be, but I will certainly make sure that we ask Robert Williams and our local staff about that to ensure Orange County is represented.
Yeah, it is through the COG, but and it's a region-wide solid waste. And then also there's the construction circular waste innovation project, which I think would be of interest with swag.
My understanding in terms of the consortium is it's made up of staff, where
Okay.
the director of Orange County, I think Orange County Solid Waste reached out to several of his colleagues across the state to kind of create a regional sort of brain center where they can all kind of talk about similar things that are affecting those areas. So I don't think it wasn't intended or designed for electeds, but that doesn't mean that
It's as long as we, as long as our solid waste is involved and we've got a voice at the table, that's really what my intent was to ensure that that we're part of the conversation.
Yeah,
So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's being driven, I think, mostly by Orange County, so that's good.
Fantastic.
Thank you for filling in. And I will say Rob attended our last meeting and I wasn't able to do so. So thank you, Rob.
And Matt, quick question regarding the social districts. I think I read something about that. That's where you basically have an open container. You can walk from restaurant to restaurant or bar to bar with alcohol.
Yeah, so it was part of some liquor law liberalization, and maybe this is where I'm sure Bob's gotten a lot of questions from some of his clients, but essentially it would be a la, a lot of the cities that you might think of, like, Charleston or Savannah or New Orleans, where you have a defined, granted, I think all the cities I just mentioned are citywide, so that's not maybe the best example, but where within a certain district, you are allowed to, say, purchase a drink at the Wooden Nickel, but then, you can walk down the sidewalk to on your way to dinner at say the Colonial Inn or vice versa. And so that was part of a bill that the governor signed relatively recently as it relates to our local laws. There are some other things that are included in that bill, like being able to make online purchases for alcohol and pick it up at the ABC store and some other things as well. So I know there's a lot of tourism interest in these sorts of laws and getting them enacted at the local level. And so certainly having a group to come together to talk about those things and what it would look like in Hillsborough. I know it does not have to be town-wide. It can be in a defined geography. And so just going ahead and going through that process of talking about it, I think would be good, because I know I've gotten a lot of questions about it.
Eric, go ahead.
We don't, speaking of lots of questions, we don't have to iron this out right now, but as Commissioner Hughes was talking, I'm thinking certain people are going to be, groups are going to be really excited and other folks are going to be vehemently against this. And because of that, and there's a lot of dynamics involved and it's new, the one thing I'm thinking is like, how do we frame this conversation so